Social Security 2026 COLA shock, hidden costs, bigger changes, and what it really means for retirees. Imagine thinking your Social Security check is about to give you some breathing room, only to realize rising Medicare premiums, higher drug costs, and everyday inflation could swallow nearly all of it. The 2026 COLA adjustment may look good on paper, but the reality paints a much tougher picture, one that reveals how fragile retirement security has become and why so many seniors feel like they're running just to stand still. Hey everyone, welcome back, and I'm glad you're here today because what we're about to discuss could have a real impact on the lives of millions of Americans who rely on Social Security. The year 2026 may sound like it's still a little way off, but the decisions and changes being made now are going to shape how much money ends up in your pocket each month. For people living on a fixed income, even a change of a few dollars can mean the difference between paying the bills on time or falling behind, between being able to cover groceries and prescriptions or having to choose one over the other. This year's adjustment, often referred to as the COLA, or cost of living adjustment, is not only important because it directly affects your benefits, but also because it highlights some deeper problems in the way the system measures and responds to inflation. And this year's COLA projection comes with a twist that a lot of people aren't prepared for. Before we dive in, I'd like to hear from you. Do you feel like your Social Security check actually keeps pace with the real cost of living in your daily life, or do you feel it always falls short? Leave a comment, and while you're at it, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss important updates like this that can help you prepare for the changes ahead. Every fall, the Social Security Administration announces its official COLA for the following year. The idea is simple. Benefits get a yearly raise to keep pace with inflation so that your check has the same buying power as it did the year before. On paper, that sounds perfectly fair. But the way it plays out in the real world is far more complicated. Analysts are predicting that the 2026 COLA will be somewhere around 2.7 to 2.8%. At first glance, that might not seem like much more than just a number, but when you translate it into what it means for actual checks, the picture becomes clearer. A 2.8% increase would raise the average Social Security check by about $52 to $54 a month. That would move the average payment from around $1,865 to just over $1,917. For some, that extra money could help cover a bill or ease a bit of pressure, but as always, the story doesn't end there. The reality is that while the COLA provides a boost, expenses in other areas are rising just as fast and sometimes even faster. One of the biggest costs seniors face is healthcare. Medicare Part B, which covers outpatient services and doctor visits, is expected to rise by about $21.50 per month. Right there, nearly half of your COLA increase is eaten up by just one cost. And then there's Medicare Part D, the prescription drug coverage that so many people depend on. Premiums are expected to climb, possibly by as much as $50 a month, especially as the cap that held premium increases in check is phased out. That means if your Social Security rises by $54, but your drug coverage jumps $50, you're not ahead. You're falling behind. It's a frustrating situation, and it shows why the yearly COLA doesn't always feel like the relief it's meant to be. When people say that the COLA never tells the whole story, this is exactly what they mean. And for many of you, this isn't news at all. I hear it in the comments time and time again. Rent keeps going up, groceries cost more every single month, medications are becoming harder to afford, and the so-called extra money you get in your Social Security check each year never truly closes the gap. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up. You're working hard just to stay in place, but you never feel like you're getting ahead. So why does this happen? It all comes down to how COLA is calculated. The government bases it on the CPIW, or the Consumer Price Index, for urban wage earners and clerical workers. But retirees are not wage earners anymore, and their spending looks very different. Seniors spend a much higher share of their income on healthcare, housing, and long-term care, expenses that rise more quickly than general inflation. That means while the official inflation number might suggest 2.8%, The inflation you actually feel could be 4%, 5%, or even higher. Many advocacy groups have been pushing for the use of the CPIE, the Consumer Price Index for the elderly, which better reflects the spending habits of older adults. If CPIE were used, COLA increases would likely be larger and more in line with the true costs seniors face. But as of now, the government continues to use CPIW, leaving this gap between the official numbers and reality. This gap isn't just an abstract issue, it has real consequences. In 2024, the U.S. Census Bureau reported that poverty among seniors increased from 14.2% to 15%. That means nearly 1 million more older Americans fell below the poverty line in a single year. And what's even more alarming is that seniors were the only age group to see poverty rise during that period. That fact alone underscores just how much strain older Americans are under, even with these yearly COLA adjustments. On top of this financial stress, there's also a major change coming in how Social Security benefits are distributed. Starting September 30th, 2025, paper checks will be phased out completely. From that point on, benefits will only be delivered through direct deposit or prepaid debit cards. The government says this change will help cut down on fraud, reduce printing costs, and prevent delays in the mail. While that all makes sense in theory, in practice, it could create serious problems for people who don't have easy access to banking or who aren't comfortable with digital payment systems. Without clear communication and support, some people could find themselves missing payments, at least temporarily. For anyone living on a fixed income, even a short delay can cause real hardship. And then there's the broader economic picture to consider. Inflation isn't as high as it was a couple of years ago, but it hasn't disappeared either. On top of that, tariffs and trade policies are adding more pressure to the prices of goods. Supporters of tariffs argue that they help American industries and jobs, but critics say they raise prices for consumers. Retirees, especially those living on fixed incomes, are often the ones caught in the middle, paying higher prices without the ability to increase their income to match. Looking back at recent years, the COLA numbers show just how unpredictable this system can be. In 2022, the increase was 5.9%. In 2023, it jumped to 8.7%, the biggest increase in decades. Then it dropped again, 3.2% in 2024, 2.5% in 2025, and now a forecast of 2.8% in 2026-2026. Imagine trying to budget for your life with swings like that. For the roughly 40% of people who rely entirely on Social Security for their income, that kind of uncertainty makes it almost impossible to plan ahead with confidence. Yes, it's true that even a modest increase is better than nothing, but let's be honest, a $50 bump in your check doesn't really help if your rent goes up by $200, your groceries climb by $50, and your prescriptions suddenly cost more. That extra money feels more like a patch than a solution, plugging one hole while 3 more spring open. So what options do retirees have? First, it's worth knowing that there are programs that can help. Medicare savings programs can reduce your premiums if your income is limited. Extra help is available for prescription drug costs. Many states and local programs offer assistance with things like food, housing, and utility bills. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize they qualify, so spreading the word about these resources is important. For some, part-time work may also be an option if health allows. Even a small boost in income can make a difference, and for some, it also provides a sense of purpose and community. The official COLA announcement will be made in October, and unless something unexpected happens with inflation numbers in September,